So let's have a look at some of the questions that have come in. And Claude, I may employ your knowledge for some of them on the QuickBooks Online side, or if there's anything you want me to show them on the QuickBooks Online side beyond what I've shown them on the export-import, please do jump in and let me know. So,
thank you, Claude.
Hey, Claude. You're welcome. Is there anything that you'd like me to mention before we get into the questions?
No, it looks good so far. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So I'll move to the first question then. The first question asks, do we need to have Caseware Online when we use QuickBooks Export feature? Hopefully I've demonstrated that that is not necessary. Caseware Working Papers and Caseware Online, which includes the desktop Working Papers, SmartSync, and Cloud, are not required to export the QuickBooks Online file. It's just the system setup that we did at the very beginning and downloading that QuickBooks Export utility from the Caseware website, and then you can run it and extract the data for your accountant. Now the next question is, can we get this information in writing for our IT person? And the answer to that is absolutely. Once again, if you go to your Go-To Webinar panel, there is a Handouts option at the bottom of the panel, and you can download the QuickBooks, Caseware QuickBooks Export Utility PDF directly from the Go-To Webinar panel. Okay, moving down. I have a question that says, is that a year-end date? I'm not sure what that was referring to. It was early on in the presentation. So if you want to come back and provide me with a little more clarification, I'll be happy to respond to your question. So the export that we did was simply to extract the information so that we could import it into Caseware Working Papers. If you want to create a backup of your QuickBooks file, I would have to ask Claude to walk me through that. Is that something we want to walk through at this time, Claude?
Can you repeat that for me?
The question is, I missed how you exported out of QuickBooks Online to get a backup, but we weren't really creating a backup. We were simply creating a file that could be imported into Caseware Working Papers. Is there a way to get a backup out of QuickBooks Online?
So no, we don't have a system just now to create a backup of the online version of QuickBooks.
Okay, thank you for that. And sorry to put you in a position where you have to answer no. I never like that answer. I'm sure you don't either.
It's okay.
We have another question. What is Caseware Online? As I mentioned in my first response, Caseware Online is a combination of Caseware Working Papers Desktop with the SmartSync functionality and Caseware Cloud, which is the Caseware Cloud offering, which provides the ability to have your Working Papers files stored in the cloud and collaborate amongst team members, whether you're sitting side by side or halfway around the world. It also provides a number of other functionality and features available. There's all kinds of information on that at casewarecloud.com, and I would encourage you to check that out. The next question is, with auto mapping, can you change the default lead sheet that is associated with the map number? So this comes back into the Caseware Working Paper file, and under Engagement we have our mapping database. So these are my default lead sheets in my mapping database. Absolutely, you can change these to match whatever lead sheet system that you're running so that when you assign the map number to the account, it will pick up your lead sheet as opposed to the default that comes with Working Papers. Now this particular mapping database came with the Canadian Financials template, but it is very similar, if not identical, to the mapping database that's available in the SAMP01 file when you install the Caseware Working Paper software. Okay, moving on to the next question. What do we have? If a client quits the QBO subscription, will they still be able to access their information already entered? Claude, I would assume that if they quit their subscription that they wouldn't be able to log in anymore, but
If they, can you repeat the question for me? If a client
quits their QuickBooks Online subscription, will they still be
right?
able to access their information already entered?
They can, up to a year, they have access to, but read only.
Thank you very much. And I believe that answers that question. Can you import accounts so that it does not replace the account name with the information from QuickBooks Online? If I was doing an import using the Excel import, I could do that. However, if we're importing using the direct import through accounting software here, there's no way for us to exclude the account name column. So we might look at the text files that have been downloaded and try to import them using the ASCII file and choosing chart of accounts general ledger balances. Now, I'm just going to take a moment to find this folder. And I have not tried this before, so I'm going to go with the one that looks like it has the most data in it and hit next. So at this point, we would have to be able to parse out the information that we're looking at, and we could then exclude the columns. It looks like it's delimited by a comma, so I'm going to hit next, and it breaks it out for me a little bit. And it's a lot of information there. I think you're best off just bringing it in as is. If you're concerned about the account names being overwritten, what you can do is in the trial balance, instead of focusing on the name column, put the names that you wish to use in the extended description column. With the names in the extended description column, you then have the ability, when you're linking through to case view or Word and Excel, to add an argument that says only use the extended description if it's available, otherwise use the short description, which is the name that came in from the QuickBooks file. So that's, I think, a better workaround than not importing the description there. I can understand why, if you've changed the names, you don't want them overwritten year after year, and that's why we brought in the extended description fields. The next question, can we continually use the same QuickBooks export path folder? Absolutely. However, you saw when I did it a second time, it did overwrite those files that were previously exported. So if you wish to maintain those previously exported files, you would either want to move them to a different folder or create a new folder for your new export. So I mentioned a couple different websites, and I've been asked, can I repeat the website? So there's, of course, the QuickBooks Online website. There's the casewarecloud.com website, and there's the casewarezone.com website as well. Is the import process the same if we're using an installed version of QuickBooks instead of QuickBooks Online? No, because if you're using an installed version of QuickBooks, what you do is select that installed version, whatever it happens to be, and then point to the directory where that data happens to be. Of course, once again, I would direct you to the help. Make sure you follow the instructions that are listed in the help, and you'll have no problem getting the data from the QuickBooks file into the Caseware working paper file so that you can do your year-end. When I try to export, after I agree to connect, I get a message that the page cannot be displayed. The export does not complete. Any idea why? Absolutely. In this situation, it has to do with your IIS settings. So if we go back to the Start menu and we select Add or I want to turn Windows features on or off. And we have to get back to the Internet Information Services in your Windows features, World Wide Web Service, and Common HTTP features. Make sure these 5 items are selected. Now, if you've already done that step while I was showing earlier, then what you need to do is reboot your computer before you continue, and that should get you past the error message that you're seeing after you agree to connect. in the utility, specify last transaction date doesn't have to be a year-end date. That can be any date that you choose. Ideally, I think it would be a year-end date, but again, you can choose any date for cutoff date that you want. Perhaps you're doing interim audit work on your client's file and you really only need up to the interim date, so you're cutting it off on, say, October 15th or whatever the date happens to be. You could certainly do that. That wouldn't be a problem. I'm going to not continue with this one right now because we've done that twice already. Okay, these questions are coming in hot and heavy. I'm going to continue as long as I can to answer your questions, so please have patience as we continue with the questions. So, the next question, can I revisit the autofill and what is required to ensure the accounts to come in? Well, under the Tools menu in Options, we have a Mapping Autofill feature. And what I did was I chose Auto Map Now. Now, when I selected Auto Map Now, Caseware Working Papers looked at specific properties that were previously assigned to the account. Those properties are any of the lead sheet, tax export code, and ratio class code. Based on these properties, Working Papers will then go to the mapping database and select a subset of map numbers that match the properties. Once a subset of map numbers are selected, it will then go back to the account description and attempt to assign the most appropriate map number based on what it is filtered down to. Now, it's not always 100% accurate, and that's why you saw the warning sign when I did the auto map. So what it's suggesting to me at that point is that I validate the map number assigned to the account. And there's a couple ways to do it. For example, I have my map number description column turned on in my working trial balance, so I can compare it to my account description. Vehicles fuel, and I've got fuel costs here, went to map number 547,400. So if there was a warning sign to the left of this, there would be a check mark here that I could click on to clear that, to validate that map number. Alternatively, I can right-click on the entire column to select it and check the checkbox on any one of them, and it would validate all of them. Now, simply validating them without checking them isn't validating them, it's just making the warning go away. So I do encourage you to make sure that the appropriate map number has been assigned to the account based on the map number description assigned as well. Now the next question is, do I have any tips for converting from Caseware to QuickBooks Online? And with that question, Claude, I'm going to bring you into the conversation on this one. Caseware Working Papers has the ability to take the entire trial balance and move to Excel. I'm assuming that once it's in Excel, that QuickBooks Online has the ability to import that information. Would that be correct?
That is something that I'd have to get some clarification on and get back to the person. They can actually email me their question at Claude_Powell@intuit.com, and I'll find the answer and get back to you.
I'm just going to write that into the answer. You said .com, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that person has your email address, and hopefully he'll send you an email to get the clarification. Now,
sure.
If you can get the information out of Excel up to QuickBooks Online, to get it into Excel is very easy. Within the working trial balance, Control-A selects everything, Control-C copies, and I can then go into Excel, which is opening on my other screen here. And in a new document, Control-V pastes. So now I have all the information. It's just a matter of what may or may not be able to be imported up to QuickBooks. You may want to move this stuff around a little bit. I'm pretty sure I saw the ability to import a chart of accounts the other day when I was playing around. I don't know about the numbers themselves. That might take some extra transactions, or at least a journal entry to post the initial balance. Okay, moving on with the next question. By the way, this is fantastic, everyone. I'm loving the participation here. It says, sometimes when importing transactions, some of them do not have a description. What instructions do I need to pass on to my client so that these fields are not blank? Well, that's an excellent question, Julie. And it may be that the journal entries that they're putting in were not supplied with a description. So I'm not sure if there's another reason why there wouldn't be a description within QuickBooks Online. So once again, I'm going to defer to Claude. Claude, the question is, sometimes when importing transactions, some of them do not have a description. What instructions do I need to pass on to my client so that these fields are not blank?
Yeah, I apologize, but these are questions that I don't really have the answers to just now.
Okay.
But I'll definitely, again, get the answers and provide it to the person who's asking the question.
And I'm just sending that person your email address as well. There we go. I think if I had to guess, your best route with that would be to strongly encourage your client to ensure that they do put descriptions in whenever they're doing journal entries. The next item says the handout with instructions does not include the necessary settings for the registry editor. Can this be provided? It will be in the recording. You'll definitely have access to it there. And what I can do is get that entire registry key so that you know where to look. Export that to my desktop. And this is .NET. Now, I'm not going to give you my registry key. Instead, I just needed that so that I could open that up in Notepad and provide you with the key. So this is the key, and you're looking for the version 4. Oops, what did I do there? There we go. And I'm going to send this to everyone, so everybody has that. Okay. So that's the key you're looking for, and you're looking for version 4.0 under the .NET there. The next question says, can we import general ledger details from QuickBooks Online? And the answer to that is absolutely. Once again, if we go back to Engagement, Import, Accounting Software, I'm going to choose QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online, and the option to choose general ledger detail is available to you. Remember, we're bringing down all of the transactions, so once they're down, you just choose whether you want only the trial balance or the full GL detail coming into your caseware working paper file. Can I show where the Giphy codes were imported? Where does it show in caseware? Absolutely. Well, Giphy is grayed out here, so I'm not sure that they were imported originally, but I know when my map number was assigned, the Giphy codes end up right here. They show up after the final balance of the current year and before the balance of the prior year in the working trial balance. The next item says, I'm confused why we have the export utility if there's no backup out of QuickBooks Online. Well, the export utility extracts the transactions and the data so that it can be imported into caseware working papers. It doesn't create a true backup, but it does capture the data so that it can be brought into caseware working papers. The location of this data is determined by where you want to put it when you run the QuickBooks export utility and specify the export data path. So this isn't a true backup, but it does extract all of the transactional data based on the settings that you've put in here. If you have a QuickBooks backup from a client, we can also go to the accounting software and QuickBooks and choose one of the other file extensions. So you need to know what version your client has provided you with, and it will list the extensions that are available to you in the folder that you've placed that data. If it's a true backup, you may need to restore the backup to be able to access the data in it. A lot of thank yous. Always happy to see that. Continuing down the list. In QuickBooks Online, how do you get a GL based on your year-end date, like at a point in time, because it runs in real time? Now, Claude, I'm going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong here, but simply create your accounts within QuickBooks Online, and my impression would be the easiest way to do this would be to create a journal entry that includes all the accounts and balances that you want at that point in time. Now just remember, as you're doing that export from QuickBooks Online, you will want to know your client's accounting base. And that's once again why we have the accounting method set here, accrual or cash method. So as an accountant, you would typically know whether you're dealing with a client that has accrual or cash basis reporting requirements, but that's something you may want to confirm with them depending on the type of clients you're dealing with. The next question is, why would you import the entire GL transactions from QuickBooks Online into Caseware? Well, Caseware Working Papers does have some analytic capabilities. Some various documents are available through our automatic documents, which allow you to do some analysis on the detail. For example, I can do an analytical review. What do I want? Sorry, that's not what I want. An account analysis is what I want. From account to account, I can do from amounts and to amounts. And this really applies if I'm dealing with accounts with balances and transactions flowing through. This may be not the best example, but we do have other automatic documents that are available, so we can get transactional listings for accounts that will allow us to do further analytics on those accounts within Caseware Working Papers. Of course, the concern there is the increased liability. If you have all of the transactions in your working paper file and something did go wrong with the engagement, you might be subject to increased liability simply because the transaction was there and it wasn't one that was tested. I tend to encourage people to bring in just the trial balance information, but if they want the full detail in, they could create a dummy file to bring the detail in to do the analytics, and then PDF those documents that they want to maintain in the actual year-end file, just as an option. So if you have the QuickBooks export utility, you can use it to download data from the QuickBooks Online, just as I've demonstrated a couple times this afternoon. And just make sure that you have the latest version of that QuickBooks export utility. Is 1.069 is the current version. Does the last transaction date cut off the reporting date or the date the client has entered the transaction? So whatever date you specify as the last transaction date, we will include any transactions up to and including this date. The next one comes back to, will the AutoMap feature work if we subscribe to the Chazit templates? As long as the mapping database is set up to include at least a lead sheet or a ratio class or a tax export code. Typically the ratio class is what does it when it's coming from QuickBooks Online, then the AutoMap feature will work with those files. We have to create a new Caseware working paper file when we import the QuickBooks information, however the company has an opening balance. Well, if it's a brand new client, you would definitely create a new QuickBooks file. If it's, let's see, has an opening balance. When you import the QuickBooks information into the working papers file, it is going to give you the closing balance. If you're looking for an opening balance as well, you may want to create a file for the prior year, import the prior year data to that file first, and then roll it forward so it has opening balances, and import the current year closing balances. So once again, with the auto map, it primarily looks to the ratio class, then it will look to the lead sheet and the tax export code columns. It works best, I believe, with the ratio class column applied. Ooh, that's a good question. Can we export adjusting journal entries to QuickBooks Online? Well, I've imported from QuickBooks Online. I haven't created an adjusting journal entry, but I'm going to create one now. I'll just call it test. And let's see, we'll go with checking for $1,000 and some kind of revenue, sales. That'll work, $1,000. So I've got the adjusting journal entry in there. Next we want to go to engagement, export, adjustments. And we do have a QuickBooks option here. That's going to give us a QuickBook B.IIF. Now, although we have the ability to export to this IIF file, I do not know if the QuickBooks Online software supports an import of this file or if this is simply for the desktop version of QuickBooks.
Can you try?
Sure. Let's see what we've got. All dates, extended description, no, that's all fine. Periods, everything there. So I'm going to go ahead and click. Okay, let's change that directory though to make it easier to access. And okay. So now we need to go over to QuickBooks Online. And I need to get to the other file. The Pro Hockey Skill file, there we go. Oh.
Let's click next.
Next. There we go.
At the bottom.
Thank you.
Okay.
And from here,
click on the settings button at the top and see. There's a wheel in the corner. And see if it gives you the option that you're looking for. Import data.
Import data. This I think goes back to answer the question earlier about the chart of accounts. So we do have the ability to import the chart of accounts. I'm not seeing anything with respect to adjustments here.
Where would that go? Look at
Well,
reports. Look at reports to the left. See. Where do you go to? Huh?
No. I could be wrong. I think it should probably fall under the ability to import data because it would be data coming in. I didn't see it there, so I'm not sure that it's set up for QuickBooks Online at this point. However, I mean, we can certainly provide you with a format of the IIF file. It's probably Intuit that's provided us with the initial layout, and if that file type can then be brought into an option here to be pulled in, it's already available from Caseware. I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm just going to say I can't find it at this time. Okay, let's see, what have we got next here? If I import the trial balance only and start working on a file, will I lose my work if I have to import the general ledger detail as a new import? No, you won't lose your work. Adjustments are not affected by that, and any documents that you've added to the document manager and any annotations would remain in the file. Those are separate databases. If you are doing a re-import and you bring in the GL detail, I do strongly encourage you to check the checkbox to clear balances of periods being imported so that you don't have residual information left over from the prior import. Okay, Claude, I think this one might be one of yours as well, but we may need to follow up on that. A user has come across issues where a setting in QuickBooks has to be changed before third-party software like Caseware can access the information. Can I go into a little detail on that?
Was that for me or?
Yeah. Sorry, that was for you, Claude. I don't know that there should be any issue as long as the system setup is taken care of and the QuickBooks export utility is installed. You should be able to access the data. You need your login, of course, through the process, and you should be able to get the data. I'm not aware of any specific setting in QuickBooks that would prevent you from sharing that data out to Caseware. Manveer, you may want to send us an email to follow up on that, either support@caseware.com or Claude, would you like that question emailed to you as well?
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have one participant letting us know that she was advised by QuickBooks Online that currently there is no feature to import from Caseware. Not directly. However, if we get that into an Excel spreadsheet, as we saw, there is the ability to bring in the chart of accounts, and then it's just a matter of journalizing the balances at that point. And if that extends, of course, to the adjusting entries, then it would just be a matter of having to rejournalize those adjustments in the QuickBooks Online software as well. Hopefully, we can see improvements as we move forward between our two applications. Now I'm getting a couple different suggestions about trying import. And so I'm going to go back to the import and desktop data. Import your desktop data instead of entering it manually.
No, that has to do moving like data from the QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online.
That's exactly what I was thinking before I clicked on anything there.
Right.
So this
the other option is the importing data. The other option at the top.
This option here.
Yeah.
Which gives you customers, suppliers, chart of accounts, but it does not include balances and products and services, are the import options that you have.